Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming today. For more than 20 years now, we've had British workers coming second, undercut by migrant labour, which drives down wages and our people's quality of life. According to the government's own figures, millions of low-skilled migrants have been brought into this country and they've cost us hundreds of billions of pounds. Not to mention the pressure that's been put on GP surgeries, on our schools, housing, on the roads. Well, under a reform government, those days are going to come to an end. It's all going to change. Because a reform government will do what frankly should have been done a very long time ago by previous Labour and Conservative governments. We're going to make it easier for businesses to employ British workers. We're going to make it easier to employ British workers than to employ migrant workers for the first time. Under reform, it will be British workers first, migrant workers second. Along with our wider migration policies, as set out by Nigel and Zia last year, the tax reform that I'm announcing today will end the cheap migrant labour racket once and for all. The experiment of letting millions of people into the country, predominantly low-wage migrants, as millions of Brits languish on benefits, has been nothing short of a catastrophe. 1 in 6 working-age British people are now on out-of-work benefits. 7 million people. In the last 6 years, that is up by 3 million. And also in that time, we've let in 5 million migrants, many doing jobs that the Brits should be doing. And as a result, what do we have? We've got an exploding benefits bill. Towns and cities are now blighted by mass worklessness. Children are growing up in households where their parents don't work and not in the dignity and security of work. This combination of unskilled migration and a growing number of Brits on benefits has been a fiscal, a social, and a cultural disaster. Reform are going to end it. As Nigel and Zia set out last year, we won't be renewing the visas of millions of low-wage migrants, and many not working at all. We'll be scrapping indefinite leave to remain. Millions will leave. And we'll be shifting millions of Brits off welfare and back into those freed-up jobs. This reform and fundamental reforms to our welfare system will finally help us to achieve this goal. Today, I can announce 2 big changes that'll help us to ensure this happens. Step 1, we are going to scrap Rachel Reeves's disastrous rise in the rate of employers' national insurance. The jobs tax is in large part why our economy has ground to a halt. Since its introduction, unemployment has risen by nearly 200,000. And we've got near record youth unemployment. I can't tell you how many businesses that I have spoken to across the country, large and small, that are despairing right now about this job-destroying, growth-sapping act of self-harm that has destroyed economic opportunities in this country. So I can commit today that under a reform government, we will scrap Labour's rise in employers' national insurance. But we are going to do it for British workers only. It is high time that the British government put the interests of British workers first and migrant labour second, rather than has been done for decades now, which is the other way around. Successive Labour and Conservative Chancellors of the Exchequer. This is how the Treasury has operated for most of my adult lifetime. Instead of reforming our broken economy, those chancellors artificially inflated it with foreign labour to juice up the GDP figures that bore no connection to the experiences of working Brits. Well, a reform Treasury is going to do things very, very differently. Across the first term of a reform government, this tax cut for British workers will be funded by the introduction of the Employers' Migrant Labour Levy, and by getting Brits off welfare and back into work. We're going to scrap the immigration skills charge, which is levied on just 1 in 8 foreign workers in Britain today. And we're going to replace it with a graduated levy on employers, an annual fee for each foreign worker they employ. This new tax is going to particularly hit cheap foreign labour as their visas begin to run out, and incentivise the businesses that employ them to replace them quickly, as soon as possible, with Brits who are currently languishing on benefits. Now, the logic is very simple. Right now, say that you are running a care home or a distribution centre, and there's a national living wage vacancy. It makes no difference to you whether you take on somebody who is a British citizen or you hire a foreign worker. But as I said earlier, it makes a huge difference to our country. If the migrant is hired, the taxman collects £7,000 in taxes, but ends up paying the British candidate, but not hired, around £8,000 at least on universal credit. If the British worker is hired instead, the £7,000 in tax will still be paid, but this time to a Brit, but the £8,000 in benefits would be saved. The consecutive Conservative and Labour Chancellors of the Exchequer have enabled this system for so long. This scam on the British taxpayer and on British workers is frankly a scandal. It's been a straightforward redistribution from the working people of Britain and the good British businesses that set out to employ British workers to those businesses that are dependent on cheap foreign labour. And again, this isn't just about tax and benefits. Think about the kids who've been growing up in workless households, the wages of working class Brits that have been driven down as a result. Our migrant labour levy will do what smart taxes do. It's what economists call internalising the externalities. Under reform, because of this levy, businesses will have to take responsibility for the costs and benefits their hiring decisions have on everyone else. That's why the levy will be extremely minor for very highly skilled foreign national workers. Think top scientists, AI researchers, people working in financial services, investors coming into the country. But it will clamp down hard, very hard, on employers who are dependent on cheap foreign labour. Employers who are choosing to employ migrant workers over Brits, who are undercutting the wages of British workers. And every penny of the levy will go towards cutting employment taxes for businesses on British workers. Every penny of the levy will go to cutting employment taxes for businesses on British workers. So how exactly is it going to work? We may be 3 years out from election. It might be sooner, but it might be 3 years. So it would be irresponsible to set out the full and final tapered levy today. It's only right that we take the time to consult with businesses and industries. But given the fundamental change to the economy that we're proposing, I want to put businesses on notice now as to what is going to come. Be under no illusions. The era of mass migration is going to come to an end under reform. But for illustrative purposes, Suppose it was set at around £3,750 for a full-time worker on the national living wage, and it tapered down to £1,500 for someone earning around £50,000 and £500 for someone earning around £100,000. There are around 3.6 million non-EU workers in Britain. Most earn the medium income or less. The weighted average levy on them would be around £2,900. That means the levy will raise £10 billion from non-EU migrants on PAYE alone. Include contractors and the self-employed, and it would raise £11.2 billion from this group alone. Scrapping Rachel Reeves's jobs tax for British workers would cost the exact same amount. So even without including migrant workers with EU settled status, and they would be included in the levy and a source of several billions extra in revenue, the migrant labour levy can fund this big tax cut for British workers. Now, of course, this policy will in no way delay or impede the exit from Britain of migrants that we don't need. The levy is in part designed to help businesses to transition to the new world where cheap foreign labour won't be on tap under reform, as we won't be renewing the visas of millions of low-skilled migrants. So yes, the tax base for this levy will rapidly shrink as reforms migration policies come into place and have rapid effect. But the revenue gains from the levy will not. Why? Because if a low-wage migrant leaves, even one paying the levy, and a British worker takes the job from receiving universal credit, the Exchequer will gain nearly £10,000 a year. As long as just 4 in 10 of the vacated roles go to Britons coming off welfare, less than half, the package will continue to more than pay for itself. That's just 175,000 extra Brits coming off universal credit every year. Just a 21% increase, which is reasonable to think that the levy, alongside the welfare reforms that we've already set out and will be working on in the months to come, will lead to, especially given that there are now more than 7 million Brits on out-of-work welfare. So Nigel Farage and I are very confident that this can and will be done. We're setting out our intentions today, so businesses have due notice of what is going to happen in a reform government. The era of businesses getting rich by undercutting British workers' wages is going to end. The combination of migration, welfare, and tax reforms will be the biggest change to our economy this century. But it's a change that, frankly, is long overdue. Change in the interests of our people, of our economy, of our society. Lower taxes for British businesses who are doing the right thing and employing British workers. Lower taxes for British workers. More Brits in work. Fewer Brits on welfare. That is the Britain that reform intends to build. Thank you very much.